The South African Zionist Federation says it is opposed to the SA case against Israel. It says this because Israel is currently grieving for civilians that the militant group Hamas killed in October, and adds that Israel has conducted itself according to the laws of an armed conflict. South African Zionist Federation Spokesperson Rolene Marks joins us for more. Rolene, a very good evening to you. Welcome. Why are you not supporting South Africa's case against Israel?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm actually speaking to you from Israel. Well, we're not supporting South Africa's claim of genocide because there is no intention of genocide coming from the Israeli side. Now, yesterday in their case, the South African team failed to address the atrocities of the 7th of October. They failed to address the brutal murders, raping, mutilation, and kidnapping of Israeli civilians and others, including nationals from the African continent. And here I want to address Josh Malel and Clemens Matanga. And the South African team couldn't empirically make their case. They based their case on very, very emotive utterances from a variety of different personalities, including members of the government. Now, if we had to hold the South African government to the same kind of scrutiny, didn't South Africa have a former president who said, "Umshimi wami, bring me my machine gun"? Or has a populist leader in a political party with a presence in the government who says, "Shoot the Boer, kill the farmer"? Those are calls for genocide. So that argument, which the Israeli team today very, very methodically, forensically, and backed by empirical evidence, took apart piece by piece. Now, what is also very interesting is that the Israeli team today presented evidence that Israel, in good faith, sent a letter to the South African authorities to try and engage, as the two countries do not have any kind of dispute. In fact, I think it was Professor Malcolm Shaw who referred to it as a unispute. Only South Africa, that is not involved in this war, that did not give context and has shown a clear bias towards Hamas, that is an internationally recognized terrorist organization, did not respond in good faith. In fact, did not respond at all. That is obfuscating evidence and clearly misleading the court. So I think today what we saw from Israel is a very, very strong forensic, methodical, backed by video evidence, by phone call evidence, by satellite images that prove that not only has Israel demonstrated no intent for genocide. In fact, Israel is trying to rid the Gaza Strip of Hamas, a terrorist organization, so that thousands of lives can be saved. Not just the lives of Israelis and foreign nationals in Israel, but the lives of Palestinians as well. In fact, Israel clearly demonstrated how Hamas, again, an internationally recognized terror organization, which South Africa has demonstrated clear alliances with. The foreign minister having spoken to the leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, and then visited their sponsor, Iran, and then hosted delegations in South Africa. But Israel also demonstrated every single measure that we take as a country, prosecuting this war according to the laws of armed conflict and fulfilling our obligations under international law and the UN Charter, which is to defend our citizens from a genocidal terrorist organization whose very foundation documents call for the genocide, not just of the state of Israel, of the Jewish people.
Rolene, we are going to deliberate, of course, the submissions from the Israeli team this side, but I just want to get this point with you. You have said that the NC government in South Africa is actually politicizing the meaning of genocide as a distortion aimed at prohibiting Israel from defending itself. Tell us what you mean by the statement.
Well, South Africa's legal team clearly demonstrated that they are the legal arm of Hamas. The argument that we heard coming from them was using Hamas rhetoric. We know that the foreign minister met with the Ayatollah al-Khamenei, who just 2 days ago called for the eradication of the Jewish state. He clearly states that that is politicizing genocide and taking Israel, a country, a sovereign state, which any sovereign state, including South Africa, if 1,200 of your citizens were brutally murdered, raped, maimed, tortured, burnt to death, and 240 taken hostage, the people of South Africa would expect the government of South Africa to discharge its obligations under the UN Charter and defend itself. But South Africa, again, with no party to dispute with Israel, in fact, before this, bilateral relations were quite strong.
Rolene?
The weaponizing of genocide has been demonstrated by South Africa's case at the ICJ.
But Rolene, I mean, we heard even from our Minister of Corrections and Justice there reiterating the fact that South Africa did not take Hamas to the ICJ, and also reiterating that the case at the ICJ is not against Hamas but Israel as a state. What are your assertions and reactions to those? Very quickly.
Well, Hamas is not a state. Hamas is a terrorist organization and definitely not a signatory to the Geneva or any other convention. Israel is a signatory to the Geneva Convention, which is why South Africa has acted the way that they have. But the case is about proving the intent of genocide. And Israel demonstrated very clearly through our use of humanitarian corridors, warning systems, dropping leaflets, phoning people, making sure that humanitarian aid gets in, the establishment of a specific unit in the IDF with the sole purpose of ensuring humanitarian aid and the safety of citizens. Israel demonstrated that very, very clearly.
All right. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Rolene, thank you so much for your contributions. That was African Zionist Federation spokesperson there, Rolene Marks, who says they are against the SA case against Israel out in the International Court of Justice case, reiterating that Israel abided by international law.